afternoon, viewers. How are you doing today? We wish you a very happy Sunday. We'd like to thank you for joining us for another edition of Life Advancement and Business Series. I'd like you to sit back and enjoy the show this afternoon. We hope you are doing great and have been keeping safe. I'd like to inform you as well that today we have someone special that will be joining us today to share from his wealth and experience to give us better insights on how to position ourselves for maximum impact post-COVID. So today we have the pleasure of hosting an accomplished gentleman, an experienced banker, a seasoned accountant with a bias for taxation, and a career development manager in the field of human resources. A few years ago, he transited from the accounting to human resources, and today he now manages over 500 employees in a multinational energy firm. He is a chartered accountant with a bias for taxation and a member of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. He holds a bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of Benin, and as well a master's degree in finance from the University of Lagos. He is not only good with numbers, he is very good at managing people as well. Today, I'd like you to join me in welcoming Mr. Afolabi Olasomi with all pleasure to enjoy from his wealth of experience, to share insights with us on how to position ourselves for maximum impact post-COVID. Mr. Afolabi Olasomi, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bimbo. It's really good to be here to share this same platform with you today.
I'll give you the floor now to share with us your insights and your thoughts on how to position ourselves for maximum impact post-COVID. Thank you very much. You have the floor now, sir.
All right, thank you once again, Pastor Bimbo. And like I said, really, really good to be here. First, I would like to appreciate the church, especially for this opportunity to share my thought with the church members and the world at large. Again, I will also like to say that I am here on behalf of myself as Olasomi Afolabi. I'm representing myself, and whatever I'm going to be sharing today, they are my personal view, they are my ideas, and it does not in any way represent any of the organizations that I have worked for. The purpose of our discussion today is to see how we can make a maximum impact, looking at the challenges that we are currently facing. Before now, just sometimes around this time last year, a lot of people wouldn't have believed that for any flight, international flight, to come into the country, Nigeria, for example, we need to get a special approval from certain ministries, certain agencies, and the rest of that. Today, this is the situation we find ourselves. For those of us that are also football lovers, it's really, really painful today to see so many competitions going on, and fans are not having the opportunity to actually be at the stadium. Again, I would also like to come to our local environment here, looking at quite a lot of us that are doing one business or the other. Can you imagine, Bimbo, that businesses now have these that they can open even in Lagos? It's really, really funny to a lot of us. A lot of organizations today are also facing different kind of challenges. And we see so many of them asking employees, for instance, to go on leave without pay because they do not actually have the resources to take care of the salary and wages of these employees. Have we also taken time to look at so many contracts that today have been declared force majeure? These are the challenges of the current time. No wonder in about 1987 or thereabout, the United States of America War College came up with something that I think is very, very important, and it would be nice to share today. And they captured it in just 4 words, and they call it VUCA. Pardon me, I added the D because that is the the summation of every other thing. But just to quickly define what this VOCA is all about. The first V actually stands for the word volatility, and it reminds us that the environment that we live in today is becoming more volatile, it's becoming more challenging, and you have various multiple decision factors that you need to battle with. For those of us that did a bit of economics while we were in university, one of the things we were taught was that in looking at some functions that we want to derive, we say ceteris paribus, every other thing being equal. But in current environment of today, it becomes very, very difficult for you to actually hold any variable constant, because as things are changing, it is affecting every of the variables that we have. So we live in an environment today that various decisions are being affected by so many factors that sometimes we do not actually have control over. And this is what economists popularly refer to as exogenous factors. I'll give you an example. Can you imagine that a mere phone conversation between the Prince of Saudi, for instance, and the President of Russia can create a very big problem in the oil sector? Just a mere phone call conversation. This is the world that we live in today. So many factors that are affecting every of our decision making. We also live in an environment that is so uncertain, and that's what the U stands for. You have so many issues that you cannot predict on your own. Just about a few days ago, some of us that are into international business or activities, we probably bought a dollar at about 478 naira to $1. Just 2 days after, this changed significantly. And as we speak today, it's probably at the rate of about 440. This reflects the kind of environment that we live in today. Again, the environment is also very, very complex because the rate at which this thing changes, it's astronomical. Unlike before, when things want to change, you probably have an insight, it takes time, there are a bit of stability in the economy. Today, it is no longer the same. I'll give you an example. The last time I traveled to my village, Brabimbo, you won't believe it. I bought a liter of gasoline, which we call PMS in Nigeria. I bought it about 120 something naira when I was going. And at the same filling station when I was coming back, I bought it about 145 or 40 something naira just a day after. The rate at which things are changing in the world today, it's really, really astronomical. The final word there stands for ambiguity. We do not have clarity as to so many things that will likely happen. And all of this put together has created what we call a destructive economy. Again, this reflects where we find ourselves today and the challenges that COVID has brought around. But take a look at something that somebody that I respect so much has said, that looking at all these circumstances, looking at all these challenges, looking at all these situations that we find ourselves, Peter Drucker, a professor of management in Harvard Business School, once said that the greatest danger in terms of turbulence is actually not the turbulence itself. It is the act to act with the logic of yesterday. So for those of us that want to do things as usual, this is how it is done. The person that handed over to me in the office, this is what the person said. This is how we always do it. Peter Drucker has asked me to tell you that this is the greatest danger you can face, either in your career or in your business, if you want to continue to act with the logic of yesterday. Because the challenges you're going to be facing ahead is going to be Very, very serious. And if care is not taken, it can actually consume such an individual. I'll move quickly to what today represent the new normal. So many of us have been hearing the word the new normal. And yes, it is the new normal because things are actually changing very. But I will start with the first one, which is about Internet of Things. So many things that we do today that before now we used to do manually. Everybody is trying to automate things around them today. So if you are a business person, if you are a career person, and you are still living in the analog age, the danger is very, very serious. And if we're not very careful, it can consume either the business or such an individual. Today, we are having churches online, and I think, in my opinion, a lot of people are beginning to even have access to the gospel much more than before. Because with just a click on the button on your laptop, on your phone, or any other electronic gadget, you can actually access messages that you wouldn't have hitherto have access to. Something that I thought it's also important to share is about artificial intelligence. Today, we see robots beginning to do quite a lot of things. I'll give a specific example that I watched not too long ago at the peak of this COVID challenge, and it happened somewhere in United States of America, and I see what our hitherto logistics people used to do for us in terms of distribution. I see a robot actually carrying out this operation. I see a robot carrying out operation in so many restaurants today, including servicing people in the restaurant. I see robots doing quite a lot today, even in international airports, directing people on the path to follow and things like that. The question for us as a business person or as leaders, or perhaps as an employee in an organization, is that when we begin to have quite a lot of this, what danger does it portend for us? As leaders, what advantage can we take when we have situations like this? We'll talk more about this as we move along. I also like to share something which I think is also very, very important in the contemporary world today. And basically, it's actually form part of our new normal. And this is the situation where you have a family setting being on the same table. The father that normally leave for work, maybe 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning before, only to return at 8 p.m. or something around that period. And the mother is also doing the same thing. While the kids will also go to school and only return maybe by 3 o'clock or something around that time. Everybody now is probably working in the same place. Much more than ever before, the concept of remote work location is being promoted, and people are beginning to work even from home. What advantage do we intend or do we tend to gain from this? One, which I think is very important that I would like to share, is that quite a lot of us before that we have to be physically present in an office environment. Today, this is no longer the situation. So many organizations are beginning to take advantage of this, and they are recruiting people even across borders. I will give you an example. Not too long ago, I participated in an interview that one of my friends asked me to join, and we interviewed some young people from different countries. And one thing I realized is the fact that, unlike before, where you will have an advert and it will specifically state that, yes, the person must be resident or be a citizen of a particular country, this is no longer the circumstance that we find today. What it then means is that for those of us even in Nigeria, we will begin to have opportunities to work in different countries across the world without having a permanent resident, without being a permanent resident, or probably being a citizen of that country, or carrying the passport or work permit in such country. Because in real sense, you can actually work from different locations, and you will still be able to deliver on the responsibility that have been assigned to you. But this also has a challenge that has come with it. And the challenge is majorly around those of us that are counselors, that are mentors, and we have people that we are developing. You see a family setting like this, that before now, maybe the parents actually come late in the evening, they leave very early in the morning. There are so many things they probably don't know about themselves. But today, with remote working location, with working from home and things like that, you begin to get more information about either your spouse, your children, and all of that. And if you don't have the right temperament to manage this new discovered information that you have at your feet, it could actually create a problem either in your marriage or in the family as a whole. So we need to understand this circumstance and look for the best way to manage it. I have the last two pictures here, which is basically talking about what the new normal will be. Today, we see somebody that is even a beggar is telling you that I accept POS. So you don't have excuse if you actually want to offer him or her something. He's also telling you that, yes, that USSD code is available. I have it. So it is no longer the traditional way of getting resources or getting money from people anymore. But even the beggar have devised other means of accessing funds from people. So if you are a business person, for instance, and you still believe that all of this put together, or you don't want to introduce technology as we have it today in your business, I will use the Nigerian language, which is very common here. You are actually on a long thing. And if you don't change, the challenge that you have ahead of you might really, really be serious. You see this guy selling orange is also telling you that, yes, for me, I accept POS. So if you want to buy orange for me, you can actually use your POS to do your transaction. All of this represent the new normal that we have today. Again, I will share the word of Jack Welch with you. Jack Welch is one of the most successful CEOs that America has ever produced. As the president of GE, within the time frame that he was there, he grew the profit of that organization by over 400%. So it's somebody that I think we need to actually listen to. And he said something that I think is very, very important. He said, if the rate of change on the outside exceed the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. And I'll quickly take us back to my previous slide, talking about the beggar that we have here and the guy that is selling oranges. If you are in business and all of these are happening around you and you refuse to transit into the new normal, Jack Welch is telling you that the end is actually near. I'm very sure that we are all preparing to ensure continuity in our businesses, because even as an accountant, one of the things that we always talk about concerning business is the issue of going concern. And if you talk about going concern and you are not moving along contemporary situation around your environment, then the business is just on its way to bankruptcy or liquidation. Few things I would quickly also like to share with us here, and it's around what we expect even as all of these dynamics changes. The first thing is that most economy will actually slump into recession, and we are currently seeing this. So many countries are today declaring the fact that, yes, their economy is in recession. And you can't actually blame anybody, because if an economy has not been operating for about 4 or 5 months in a year, the capacity to actually survive is very slim. And this is the situation that we have today. But when an economy is looking into recession, businesses are not also insulated from the economy. So what that means is that businesses will also be affected. and the possibility of so many organizations asking people to go for a while is also very high. And this is why we see so many organizations today asking their employee to proceed on leave without pay. This is actually a big challenge for every one of us that is working in an organization, and even for people that are into businesses. As leaders, we must be aware of these challenges, and from there we can begin to devise means or ways of actually surmounting it. But something that I think is also very important that I need to share is the third one, which surrounds the fact that fraud and insecurity is actually going to increase. And I'm sure, Mr. Bimbo, you agree with me that today, so many organizations are beginning to come out to tell us the rate of fraudulent activities that is being carried out around their businesses. Just not too long ago, I saw one of the main banks in Nigeria talking about a particular guy that tried to hack into their software and use that medium to siphon people's money. Much more than ever before. One of the things that is also common now is that you begin to see some messages on WhatsApp and they will just ask you to click on join. The moment you click on that join, I can assure you some funds in your account will naturally just disappear. These are some of the challenges that we face in this trying time. Because when people also lose their job, those that are not in Christ, those that are not Christian or do not have the willpower to stay put, they might also go into some fraudulent activities. This is not in any way to justify it, but we are just letting ourselves know some of the challenges that can probably happen and how well we then need to prepare for it and avert such situations. So much more than ever before, if I'm a businessman, I need to ensure that I protect my business and build some level of security around every of the tools that I'm using in order not to lose all the resources that I have worked for over the years. The fourth point that I will share here is about investment. And naturally, for economists, they will tell us that your investment is a function of your income and your consumption. And that's why they say, yes, your Y minus your C is equals to your savings, which is equals to your investment. When we have this, for a country that is into recession, that people are being laid off, that are going through challenges, the tendency that the investment will drop is very high. Because Abraham Maslow has once told us that looking at the hierarchy of needs of human, the most important of it is your physiological needs. And this is where you have your food, your shelter, your clothing, your security, and things like that. So for everybody that is able to make a kobo, the first thing they will consider is survival. And in surviving, they will look at food, they will look at clothes, and they will look at shelter. It is when these first three things that constitute your physiological needs are being met that you probably then move to your security, your social relationship, your self-esteem, and probably your self-actualization. But in all of this, when you are fighting for survival, the rate at which you then invest, knowing fully well that your investment comes from your income, will naturally reduce. The fifth thing that I would also like to share is that, yes, even in all of these challenges that we have and this situation that we find ourselves, new businesses will also spring up, especially in the area of SMEs. So it is not all tales of woes. The opportunities will come, but for those that are prepared for it, for those who are ready to take advantage of it. Today, much more than ever before, I see a lot of people into logistics business because even for our restaurants today, they do home delivery. And a lot of people are actually in that space today, and they are making a lot of money, much more than ever before. I don't know if you have noticed it, Brother Bimbo. A lot of people are actually doing this POS business today, much more than ever before. This is a new business that some other people have discovered and they are taking advantage of it. There are quite a lot of business around that. Farming is another very important area that I think so many people are taking advantage of. Remember when we talked about the Maslow hierarchy of needs? Food is a critical element that everybody and at any point in time we always want to take advantage of. So even if it's one kobo you are able to earn, the first thing you consider is food. This is another area that I think a lot of people are taking advantage of, and it's left for us as leaders, as employee in organization, as business owners to begin to look in this direction and see how we can take advantage of them. The sixth item I would like to also share here talks around our social and economic inequality, which will invariably increase when people are losing jobs and some other people are making money. The gap between the have and the have nots will naturally increase, especially when we have a lot of people that are not taking advantage of opportunities that have availed themselves as a result of these COVID challenges. The seventh item I have here is about business owners becoming more efficient. And I will give you examples. Before now, an organization want to organize probably a conference, and they take everybody in the organization to a very big hotel. They lodge them probably for 2 days or thereabout. And at the end of the day, they pay quite a lot of money to the hotel owners. And they finish their program and everybody goes home. But do you know what? Today, a lot of people are having this same conference online and they are getting the same value and everybody is happy. Today, so many organizations that used to run generator, for instance, for about 10 hours, 8 hours in a day, because their employee will actually be in the office and they need to on generator, they need to on air conditioner, they need to do so many things and make the environment more conducive for them. So many business owners are becoming more efficient, especially when they discover that yes, if you're actually working from home, you can still deliver the same value. So why do I need to make you go through Lagos traffic, for instance, where you're going to spend an average of about 4 hours to and fro. And when you get to the office, you spend another 2 hours to relax your nerves first before you get yourself and you begin to deliver for the job of the day. If you can actually do the same job from home and you still produce the same services, why do I need to say that you have to come to the office and spend about 8 hours put together? Finally, and I think also very importantly, so many things are going to change around what we call the just in time. For those of us that are accountants, we are very used to this, to what we now call just in case. The accountants will tell you that looking at your purchases, one of the things you need to consider is that you don't have to stock so many of the things that you have in your warehouses. You have an agreement with your supplier, and when you need this item, you ask them to deliver to you. But today, the new business environment is telling us that this is not just enough, that we rather need to take a step further and go to what we call just in case. And just in case speaks around your being able to forecast events that will happen and you negotiate ahead, make arrangement ahead and take advantage of it only when you need it. You do not, for instance, need to make payment ahead because every other business is actually facing the same challenges. These are some of just few of the things that we expect even as these dynamics changes. I will move quickly to what I think is our main focus for the discussion today, and is around how to remain relevant and make impact. For everybody working in an organization, if you actually have to remain relevant and make impact, the first thing and the most important thing that you have to do as an individual is you need to build your emotional intelligence. Remember, your emotional intelligence surrounds just four basic pillars. And the first one is self awareness, the second one is self regulation, the third one is relationship management, and the fourth one is your social awareness. I will briefly just talk about the self regulation because this one is very, very important. And it talks about your ability to keep disruptive emotion under control, irrespective of the circumstance you find yourself. You must, at every point in time, be able to control your emotion. Because in the new normal, people are facing different challenges. People are going through a lot. And the tendency that these will be brought into the workplace is usually very high. Or this will be brought even into your business environment will be very, very high. But if you remember something that Lewin have told us, in his analysis of or his theory of human behavior, he gave us a function, and the function is that human behavior is actually a function of the individual's personality and your environment. So, how well you are able to condole yourself in your workplace, how well you are able to condole yourself in your business environment will go a long way to determine how much you will remain relevant and how well you will also be able to make impact. Because every organization, we want to let go every employee that do not have the right emotional intelligent quotient. The first set of people, every organization we want to say, thank you, it's been nice working with you. Even in this current period, will be people that do not have the right EI, as is popularly called. Another thing that I think is also very important for us to note, in order for us to remain relevant and make impact, is that in this current environment or current situation or circumstance that we find ourselves, we need to be more innovative, we need to be creative, and the need to challenge the status quo is also very, very important. I mentioned this earlier. Quite a lot of us, even till today, we still feel that when we're working in an organization and they ask us a question, why did you do it like this? The response is usually, this is how we always do it. There is no place, and I repeat, there is no place in any organization today for people that will continue to say, this is how we always do it. If they ask your hierarchy to donate one person in his or her department that will let go, I can assure you that you are probably going to be the first person your hierarchy is going to donate. Because every manager needs somebody that is going to challenge the status quo and make them continue to be relevant to the business. And this is simply what Adam Smith referred to as poverty of aspiration. When an individual cannot think genuinely, when an individual cannot come up with creative idea, when an individual cannot challenge what has always been, it is nothing but a poverty of aspiration. In this new normal, for us to also remain relevant, we must learn, unlearn, and relearn. And in doing this, looking at our competencies, looking at our profile, looking at our capacity, we must develop it much more than before. If you are working in an organization, for instance, and your knowledge of Excel is still at the basic level, and you are not already at a situation where you begin to use Power BI, for instance, or where you begin to use Aradox, or probably you begin to do business analytics, in this new normal, there is very, very slim opportunity that you will remain in that organization. And even if you are in business and you refuse to relearn and unlearn those bad things that you have learned before, the tendency that you'll be able to make impact and continue in that business is also very, very slim. As a business person,
You also have to be agile because opportunities will come, but opportunities will not wait for anybody because you have so many people that are looking for this same opportunity. So, in terms of competition, it is really, really very high. And if you don't take advantage of the few opportunities that are available to you, in terms of taking decision quickly, the tendency that it will slip off your hand is really, and another person just close to you will probably take advantage of it. You also need to watch what you spend, what you spend, and most importantly, like we always say in Nigeria, please, much more than before, in this era, increase your side hustle. This is not the period where, as a salary earner, you say, yes, my salary is enough for me. No, you need to increase your source of income. You need to increase your source of revenue as a business person. This is the time to also begin to look at how you diversify from that business into other alternative opportunities that are available for you. You must increase your side hustle. I remember some of the things that Pastor Ruben Inwe said some years ago, and this is one of the reasons why I'm actually why I stayed in Joseph's Palace before the new pastor came. That's Pastor Felix. He shared something with us, and I can't forget it quickly. And he talked about your income as a family. And he said, if your income as a family divided by two, if what you expend on your rent, for instance, is more than half of your combined income, then you are heading for a problem. I hold this very dearly. And since that time, in taking decisions around my life, I consider this as very important. Because really, for those of us that remember what James Dusenberry talked about, in his permanent income theory, he told us that for every human being, the moment your income increases and you allow your expenses to increase in the same proportion, say for instance, you are living in Festac before, but your salary increased by about 30%. And this is when you begin to realize that no, I'm actually supposed to be living in Lekki, for instance, and you decide to move to Lekki. Don't forget, it is not just house rent that will increase, but other associated costs will also increase. Maybe where you used to buy things before in the supermarket is going to be different. Maybe the kind of schools that you send your kids to is also going to be a bit more expensive. Maybe so many things around you will probably change, and every expenses around you will increase. And when this increases, like James Dusenberry taught us, that even when there is a slight decrease in that your salary, your expenditure will not decrease in the same proportion. And this begin to create problem for quite a lot of people. So you must be able to manage your income and your consumption appropriately. One other thing that I would like to also share, which is also very important to me, is the fact that you need to also have the right culture. Peter Drucker told us that culture will eat strategy as breakfast. And what that means is, if you're a business person or business owner, if you're a leader in an organization, and you think all you need is to have the right strategy, culture, if you don't have the right one, will eat it as a breakfast. Because don't forget, if you don't have the right culture and you don't have the right people with this right culture to implement that your strategy, it is never going to see the light of the day. So when you are working in an organization, you must ensure that you understand the culture of that organization and you live by that culture. And everything that you do is around the culture that has been built by that organization. Otherwise, when the tough time comes, such an individual is going to be among the first set of people that the business. Something that I also think I need to share around culture is the fact that every business rests on three basic things, and it rests on leadership, culture, and structure. But of all of these, the most important is actually having the right culture. Because when you have the right structure and you don't have the right people to implement the culture that you have, the tendency that such strategy that you have in place will be executed appropriately is next to nothing. Even when you have the best of leaders and you don't have the right culture, when people begin to resume work 10 a.m., for instance, instead of 8 a.m., and people begin to leave office maybe 4 p.m. instead of 5 p.m., such culture can actually destroy an organization or an enterprise that has been built. Quickly, I will run through these few other things so that we can also see how we manage them. We also need to plan, execute, and evaluate. One of the major problems that we have generally is that we do not evaluate what we have planned to achieve. This is much more important now than ever before, because if you don't evaluate and you don't see how well you are doing or how far you have gone in terms of your plan, the tendency that you end well is very, very steep. So if you have to make impact, the relevant one in this current dispensation, you must be ready to evaluate whatever plans that you have. Also, very important is that you also need to identify your success factors, which some organizations have called their mission critical parameters. Your mission that if you don't have all of this in place, that there is a problem for the business. You must identify what are the things that you need to do, what are the things that you need to put in place for your business to continue to survive. I love the next one and I would like to share it. And it's about the fact that as an individual, especially for those of us that are working in organization, we must, or even for business person, maybe you are looking for contracts, for instance, we must at every point in time have what we call our elevator speech ready. And I will use a simple example, which is in Mark 10:51, and it's about the blind man that Jesus met at Jericho. And he asked the blind man a very simple question: what do you want me to do for you? So just imagine that the blind man does not have exactly what he wanted ready. Maybe he wouldn't have taken advantage of that opportunity. But the blind man was straightforward in his response. He said that he may have his sight restored. And immediately, Jesus spoke and he has his sight available. So if you are looking for an opportunity in this current dispensation and you want to make impact, at every point in time, you must have your elevator speech ready. You are going for a job interview, you must prepare yourself. You must understand things that you need to share with the interviewer. You must prepare yourself if you are going for a contract. Some of the things that you need to do in this period, you don't know when you are going to meet the person that will help you. So just imagine you are not ready with that elevator speech. That advantage might just slip off you. And it is called elevator speech because probably the person you are going to be discussing with does not have all the time. So take for instance, you meet somebody that you have been trying to see for quite a long time in the elevator. And the person is just probably going to the third floor and you met on the first floor. So by third floor, the person is going to drop. So whatever you have to say, you must briefly put it together and say it at that point in time so that you can take the best advantage of it. One other thing I would also like to share is that you must invest in people in this dispensation because like we all know, they said if you want to go far, you have to go with people. But if you want to go very fast, you can then go. But what is the point when you will go alone and you have to wait for others in order for you to make impact? But even as we do this, there's something that is called the metaphor of an aircraft. And the metaphor of an aircraft really speaks basically to what they normally tell us in the airplane. That yes, in case of accident, after they have assured you that there's not going to be accident anyway, but they will tell you that just in case there is anything, please make sure that you help yourself first before you help others. So even as you are trying to invest in people, make sure that you also invest in yourself so that you will not turn yourself into the irony of the metaphor and aircraft. One other thing I would like to also enjoy our people to take advantage of is that in this current dispensation, if you must remain relevant and make impact, you must see how you begin to do things like cooperative society that can give you access to funds and business ideas. Because nobody is an island, and when you join forces with some other people, when you go into partnership with some other people, you can actually take advantage of so many opportunities that you hitherto didn't even think about. Remember, one of the challenges we have in this environment, talking about Nigeria, is that partnership is not so strong because of some challenges. But again, this is something that we can consider and take advantage of. Adaptation is something that I also think is very, very important. And I will just share with us what Charles Darwin said about it. He said, it is not the strongest of species that survive, but the most adaptable. So even in this era, it is not how strong that will determine whether you will survive or whether you will continue to remain relevant, but how well you are able to adapt to the AI, to the Internet of Things, and things that are changing around your business environment. You also need to build as much network as possible because, like they always say, your network determines your net worth. As I begin to round up, I will share with you quickly what one of my lecturers back then at the University of Benin shared with us when we were having our valedictory evening after our graduation from the university. He's a pastor in Redeem, and today he's a professor of accounting, Professor Yemi Dabo. And he said something. He said, at every point in time, as we go into the world, one thing I would like to share with you is that whoever you are going to save, let it be the one that can save you in the days of trouble. Let it be the one that will come to your rescue when you have challenges. And this is the same message I'm sending to everybody today. That even in this challenging time, in this trying period, as we strive to continue to make impact in this new dispensation, we must have trust and believe in the one that we know that can save us. And this I'll quickly share what he said in Philippians chapter 4, verse 19. He said, but my God shall supply all your needs according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus. So if you have somebody that has a capacity to supply all your needs according to his riches in glory, why not that person? Why do you want to run to another person that cannot supply all your needs? Corroborating this is what we also see in Jeremiah 17 from verse 7 to 8. And he talked about the fact that blessed be the man that trusted in the Lord and whose hope is in the Lord, because it shall be like a tree planted by the waters. So if you want to be like a tree planted by the waters, if you want to be watered in this season, if you want to continue to remain relevant, if you want to continue to make maximum impact in this dispensation, looking at all the things that we have discussed, the most important is that you must believe in God and follow his principle. As I begin to round up, I will share a story with us, which is what one of my friends shared with me somewhere in Europe. sometimes late last year. And I think it's important to share it as I close. All of us recognizes this ship. For those of us that are film lovers, we recognize this ship, but I will share a brief history around the ship. This ship was produced by a company called the White Star Liner Company. And the ship, I will share a brief history of the ship. On June 21st, 1911, upon commissioning, there was a crash. On September 20th, 1911, just a few months after, there was a crash into a naval cruiser somewhere in Southampton. On February 24th, 1912, just some few months after, there was a knock of the 26 tons propeller on a wheel known wreck somewhere in Grand Bank. And this incident was actually captained by one Edward Smith. Let's look briefly about the resume of Captain Edward Smith. On 27th January 1999, this Captain Edward J. Smith, he ran a Republican aground somewhere in New York. On 1st of December 1890, this same captain ran another ship aground in Rio de Janeiro. On November 4th, 1909, this same Edward James Smith ran another ship aground somewhere in New York. And let's look at the history around him. They said he has a history of running ship too fast, too narrow passage, and do not pay adequate attention to his officers. Captain Edward J. Smith was commissioned to command the popular Titanic we all know. And that's the ship that we saw at the beginning there. Let's look at a bit history around Titanic. On April 14, 1912, Edward James Smith, when he was in charge of Titanic, received at least 6 warnings of ice speed from the ship at dead stop in the area. He used binoculars. Titanic was actually moving at a speed of 22.5 knots as against the recommended note of 10. Situation. What was Edward James Smith's motivation for doing this? He has a desire to break the transatlantic record. What is the message for us? If you keep doing the same thing with the same people, like Edward James Smith, with the same behavior, remember we talked about culture, do not be surprised that you keep getting the same results. Behavioral change has to be our culture. It has to be our vision. It has to be our commitment. So even as we move into this new normal, if we must continue to be relevant and make maximum impact, our behavior is something that we also need to watch and take care of. Thank you very much. I hope you've had a wonderful time sharing these slides together. Over to you now, Brother Bimbo.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for this insightful teaching. I think it has been more like a mini MBA, teaching us history, economics, human resources, marketing, and I can go on. It's just been an exposition session with you, and I'd like to thank you for your wealth of experience that you have shared with us. Very quickly, I'd like to ask some questions that we have with us here. So I'd like to ask, first of all, for you, transiting from accounting and transition to human resources, how has that been for you? Has that been more like a positioning strategy for you from accounting to HR?
Okay, yes, for me, I mean, till today, I'm still answering the same question. Even when I participated in an interview recently, I had to also answer the question when the candidate asked me. because when you look at my resume and you see that this is somebody that is a chartered accountant and every of his background is in finance, why did he move to an environment that is human resources? But again, if you look at even the presentation I've made today, you will see that something is very constant around all the discussion and is about people. Um, one of the two elements that you find very difficult to predict at every point in time is human element. It is the most challenging to manage of all the resources that you have available in an organization. So for me, you're able to manage the most important and the most challenging, I won't use the word difficult, the most challenging element that you have or resources that you have in an organization, then you can manage anything. Figures are actually very simple to manage because when you have X plus Y, you know what the answer will be. But when you have two human beings together in a particular place, you cannot say sufficiently what their decision or the outcome will be. So for me, to answer your question, um, I look at the fact that I have spent so much time in finance, in accounting environment, and I felt that yes, so many things are becoming automated even in the finance space today. Reconciliation today, you can have you can develop some tools that will do your reconciliation for you if you want to prepare your FS, which is your financial statement. You do not need the number of people that you need here to actually do it for you because businesses have developed so many things that can do all of this for them. Your account payable, your account receivable, all of this can be done by certain tools that have been developed. But there is a space that you cannot easily replace, and this is the human resources. This is one of the things that informed my decision to transition into the human resources environment. And I tell you, for those that are not there yet, it is something that I think you need to experience in your career.
Okay, thank you. Like I'm waiting for us to come into HR as well. Thank you, sir. Okay, so we have this question I'd like you to answer very quickly. So, how do you stay relevant? Someone is asking, how do you stay relevant with a system that glorifies and rewards high service? And you are someone that prepares to work hard. You show your work hard, you work very smartly, and very diligent. How do you work and balance that, the system that glorifies high service and rewards through that?
Okay, I would like to share something with you which I didn't talk about, maybe because of time, or maybe because I didn't even thought about it. But your question has actually brought it up. And that's the issue of visibility in the work environment. Today, if you have to remain relevant in the work environment, it is not a question of your capacity or your competence alone. You must also be visible to your hierarchy and to the organization as a whole. If you look at what P. Robbins does about organizational behavior, one of the things that is critical there is that as a person, of course, he gave us the four pillars, and one of the pillars is people. And looking at people, working in an organization, you must create that visibility around yourself. There is a difference between visibility and eye service. For those that are doing eye service, they are basically referred to as people without content. But visibility is about people with content, and they make others also see their contribution to the development of the organization. So the era of keeping quiet in an organization has come. If you have contributed to the development of something, you need to sing your own praises. You need to sing the praises through your hierarchy. When you are working with somebody in an organization, you need to ensure that everything you are doing, you carry your hierarchy along. Because most often, the challenges that people face is the fact that, yes, They want to be the only one that will take the glory of whatever has been achieved. But remember, you have somebody that will be responsible for your appraisal. You have somebody that will speak for you in places that you will not be when decisions are being taken. Because when they are talking about succession planning, when they are talking about appraisal, 99.9% of the time, you will not be there. But that person that will speak for you, if you want to show the person that you know too much than the person, then you are actually heading for trouble. But when you work with the person, remember one of the things I shared about emotional intelligence, social relationship, it is very, very important. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to get into it. So I just jumped around it. My sincere apologies. But this is something that is very important. And it talks about your interpersonal capacity in an organization. When you put all of these together, creating that visibility around yourself will not be difficult. And working with that supposedly difficult boss will become more difficult. What you need to do to answer your question straight away is to ensure that you carry your hierarchy along in almost everything that you are doing, and you don't create an environment to show that you know it all, and all the ideas actually comes from you. Because there is no manager, there is no leader, just very few of them, just very few that will want such a team member in their team. Of course, there are quite a lot of them these days, but again, when you have identified that this is the kind of hierarchy that you have, you must also devise the appropriate means to work around achieving results.
Thank you very much, sir, for those responses. And I think we've had a very good session today, and we can go on and on asking you questions, which we have like a two of them. But then I guess we have another show where we'd like to invite you to share your thoughts again with us as an extension of this session that we have today. In a minute, I'd like to ask Pastor Lumide to wrap up and appreciate our guest. Pastor Lumide.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Folabi, I want to say big thank you for your time this afternoon. I must say that we've had an amazing time with you. It's been very eye-opening. And for adventure, maybe we'll still call on you at another time, for such an insightful time. I don't know if you have any parting word for us before we call it a wrap.
Okay, thank you very much, Pastor Olumide. What I will say as my parting word is that for everybody, the times are really, really challenging. A lot of people are having so many issues that they never thought of. Reduced listening today. So many people are going through psychosocial challenges. Depression is becoming more relevant and more pronounced in our environment today. But as an individual, the end is not yet here. Do not condemn yourself. Do not think that that challenge that seems to be too big cannot be surmounted. People have gone through this before and they were able to come out. So why won't you come out? Yes, you have lost that job, but who says you can't get a better one? Yes, that business didn't sell through. Who says that a bigger one is not in front? So continue to prepare ourselves. Let's continue to empower ourselves. Let's continue to ensure that we do all that is needed for us to be at the right place. And I can assure you, God in his infinite mercy will continue to be with us and provide us with such opportunities that will take us to the next level.
Amen. 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 Thank you so much, sir. Once again, want to appreciate you. It's been an amazing time. Bimbo, thank you very much also. Handing over to you as we round up. I want to strongly believe that we still have a lot of questions that we're not able to attend to. So the questions can keep coming in. What we'll do is We'll plead with Mr. Folabi. Any other question that we have, we'll get in touch with you offline so that we can pass your responses to the people offline also. Thank you very much. And we'll be coming your way again another time. This is to the viewers at home. Thank you for linking up with us. We'll be coming your way another time. And then until that other time, like you have heard, make sure that you stay relevant in every sphere that you find yourself. God is on our side, and definitely we'll get to the place of our prophetic calling. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening and an amazing week ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.